Hello everyone, this is the Sports Spiral, and today I'm going to review week 5 of college football. This was a very interesting week, and I also am going to preview week 6. So I'm just going to get right into this. We had Virginia winning a close one over Miami, 30-28, as they pulled that one off. Armstrong, 25 of 44 for 268, a touchdown and an interception. Miami, they have not had a good season. Van Dyke was 15 of 29 for 203 and a touchdown. But yeah, both of those teams, not the best teams. So, yeah, I just wanted to pick another game there. I'll probably not pick a game with teams like them in the future just to limit on the amount of games I pick. But I'm going to get into the next one. Iowa put up a ton of points for Maryland, 51-14. So, yeah, a lot of points scored for Iowa here. Iowa is looking really good. Petrus, 21 of 30 for 259 and 3 touchdowns. And Tuitt's brother, Talia, for Maryland, he was not good. 16 of 29 for 157, 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions for Tuitt's brother there. So yeah, Iowa's offense looks like they are improving, and their defense is still really good. So Iowa is a major threat. They're not a lock for the playoffs yet. BYU won by 2 touchdowns over Utah State, 34-20. For BYU, Romney was 15 of 19 for 187 and a touchdown. And for Utah State, Bonner was 21 of 41 for 276, 2 touchdowns and an interception. So a pretty easy win for BYU right there. And then we had Georgia blowing out Arkansas. I expected this one to be a blowout, but not a shutout. 37-0. Georgia's defense is really good. Their offense is pretty good. Their defense really helps their offense a lot. For Arkansas, Jefferson was 8 of 13 for 65. And for Georgia, Bennett was 7 of 11 for 72 yards. Multiple quarterbacks were used by each team this one, but they didn't throw all that much. But Georgia is a top 2 lock here, it looks like, for the playoff, and maybe even as good as Alabama this season. We will see. Michigan won pretty easily over Wisconsin. They were doing much better this season. Wisconsin is not. So a big win for Michigan here. McNamara, 17 of 28 for 197, 2 touchdowns. And then for Wisconsin, Marks was 8 of 15 for 115 and a touchdown. So an easy win there for Michigan over a struggling Wisconsin team. And then we had an unexpected blowout here. I actually picked Missouri in this game. Tennessee put up a ton of points, 62-24. Hooker was 15 of 19 for 225 and 3 touchdowns. But their running back Evans had a big day, 15 carries for 156 and 3 touchdowns. As Tennessee went all over Missouri in that conference matchup. And then next up, Cincinnati got it done over Notre Dame, 24-13. They're getting close to being an elite team here. So yeah, they get it done in that one with some good defense. So yep, Ritter was 19 of 32 for 297 and 2 touchdowns. He was pretty good. And then for Notre Dame, Pine was the leading passer, 9 of 22 for 143 and a touchdown. At Cincinnati is looking like they are a real deal. But at the same time, Notre Dame isn't as good as they have been in the past. So we will see if Cincinnati is a top 5 team or a top 10 team. So then next up, Alabama had a big matchup against Ole Miss. but their defense was pretty good, and they won 42-21. I expected Alabama to score around 42, but their defense was better than I expected. So yeah, maybe an improvement for the Alabama defense there. Matt Corral was 21 of 29 for 213 and a touchdown. Bryce Young was 20 of 26 for 241, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But Robinson for Alabama was really good. 36 carries, which was a ton of carries, for 171 and 4 touchdowns. So he had more attempts than Bryce Young did. So that was very interesting, as Alabama had a big win over Ole Miss with some good defense and great offense. And then we had an upset in overtime, and I tell you, this always happens to the Pac-12. They always go undefeated for the first 5 or so games, and then they just eat each other alive. Oregon loses to Stanford in overtime, 31-24. Brown was 14 of 26 for 186 and an interception. And then Stanford McKee was 20 of 36 for 230 and 3 touchdowns. So, yep, this always happens to the Pac-12. They could make it in the playoff if they didn't lose to each other so much. But it happens every year in the Pac-12, and it's almost to the point of being funny. But at the same time, like, it's not funny because they never get in, and I don't know when they'll make the playoff, even though they have been doing good. Like Oregon, they were able to beat Ohio State, but they lose here to Stanford. And then Ohio State handled business versus Rutgers, 52-13. Ohio State, I think, is back to being a playoff contender. If they win out, they're a really good team. Stroud, 17 of 23 for 330 and 5 touchdowns. And then the defense was pretty good for Ohio State. For the Rutgers, Vedral was 16 of 26 for 152, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. So good defense for Ohio State here, and Stroud has been looking really good this season so far. And then next up, we had another upset here. It was Kentucky over Florida, 20-13 in this one. And like Oregon, Florida is another team that may have some good wins for Georgia or whoever every year, but they lose to some of the lesser conference opponents, such as Kentucky, LSU, Missouri, teams like that every year. So 20-13 upset win for Kentucky. Great defense by the Wildcats in this one. Jones for Florida, 23 of 31 for 203, a touchdown and an interception. And then for Kentucky, Levis was 7 of 17 for 87, 1 touchdown and an interception. So it wasn't really the offense that won this one for Kentucky, but the defense played really good and upset number 10 Florida, who is likely out of playoff chances for the season with 2 losses. And then next up, Texas A&M fell to Mississippi State 22-26. I'm not going to elaborate for this one. It's just Texas A&M. It's really struggling with the whole quarterback thing, and they basically have thrown their season away. So yeah, they'll probably be unranked for the rest of the season. And then Oklahoma State won over Baylor 24-14 in a ranked matchup. So yeah, Oklahoma State getting it done. I don't think these are any great teams. I don't think they're worse than top 15 for sure. Baylor Bohannon was 13 of 27 for 173. Oklahoma State Sanders was not great, but they still got it done. So yeah, Warren had a good game for Oklahoma State. And so yeah, the Oklahoma State Cowboys winning that one. And then next up, Penn State was able to shut out Indiana. So here comes Penn State looking like a playoff contender. Not a playoff lock, but a playoff contender. So yeah, Clifford with 17 of 33 for 178, 3 touchdowns and an interception. So it looks like Penn State's defense is pretty good. Their offense is pretty good, and they won that one versus Indiana 24-0. And then we had Clemson squeaking by with another win over Boston College, 19-13. It's been quite the story for Clemson. They were dropped off the rankings after this one. They were 19-13. Uyunglele was 13 of 28 for 207. It's really been impressive that Clemson only had 2 losses. Yeah, their defense has really played well. The offense, it's not. Same story for Clemson in this one. It's quite funny how consistent these teams are at being bad on offense and good on defense. So then we had Auburn handling business versus LSU in a close one, 24-19. Bo Nix, 23 of 44 for 255 and a touchdown. For LSU, Johnson was 26 of 46 for 325, a touchdown and an interception. Doesn't look like any of these teams are too great. They have been in recent years, but they do not look like anything special this year. So that's one interesting storyline in the SEC. 2 of the mainstays are not playing to their usual potential, but yeah, I guess they're not bad teams per se, but they're not as good as usual. And how about another upset in the Pac-12 just to eat each other alive? Arizona State, 42-23 over UCLA, who started strong, but it's fading fast. So 42-23 win there. For Arizona State, Daniels, 13 of 19 for 286, 2 touchdowns. UCLA, Thompson Robinson was 21 of 32 for 235 and a touchdown. So those are all the games I picked. My Week 5 record was pretty good, 12-6, and my season record is pretty good so far, 63-26. But if these upsets keep happening, my record is going to keep going down. So we'll see how many upsets. There's been a ton already, as there usually is in college football. We'll see how many more there were. We're almost halfway done. So yeah, we'll just see how things play out. And then here are my picks for Week 6. We have a really good lineup here. So yeah, I'm just going to get right into this. Cincinnati, they've looked really good. I think they'll handle business versus Temple, 41-7. Arizona State, they were able to beat UCLA, but Stanford beat Oregon, so I don't think Stanford's that good of a team. But Arizona State needs to be on upset alert. I think they do win this one, 38-30. We will see how that plays out. Florida, they did not look good versus Kentucky in that loss. They fell to 20th. They have 2 losses now. I think they recover versus Vanderbilt, but this isn't going to be a blowout. It's going to be a blowout because Vanderbilt, it's not a good team, but not like a 40-point blowout. I have Florida in that one, 38-10. And then Oklahoma versus Texas, the rivalry game. I've got Oklahoma in a close one there, 34-27. Oklahoma, they've been in a lot of close games. So, yeah, by the way, I did forget to mention that Oklahoma game last in Week 5, they were able to win 37-31, where Rattler looked better, but the defense is still a bit questionable. So, yeah, Oklahoma keeps squeaking by in these games where they lose versus Texas. I don't think so. I think they pulled off 34-27. I think Rattler is good enough to keep Oklahoma moving on. And then Ohio State, they're going against Maryland. I think they win this one 48-24. The defense might allow some points here. They have looked better, but Stroud has been looking really good for Ohio State. And then Michigan State going against Rutgers. I think they win a close one here, 33-27. to 24. And then the two teams that got blew out by Georgia and Alabama last week, Ole Miss and Arkansas, facing each other. I've got Ole Miss in a close one here. I think their offense gets it done 33-30. And then Georgia will face off against Auburn. Like I said, I don't think Auburn's that good this year. The games they have won or have been kind of close. So yeah, I've got Georgia in that one pretty big. I don't think they will allow much points. Georgia is a really good team this year. Their offense has looked good enough this year too. So I've got Georgia 34-7 over Auburn. And then BYU going against Boise State. I've got BYU in that one, a close one, 34-26. A top 5 matchup here, Iowa and Penn State. A Big Ten matchup here. This one's going to be exciting, low scoring. I've got Iowa getting it done. I just think their defense is a little better. I don't think their offense is better, but I think their defense is a little better. And I think they get it done 27-23 over Penn State. And then Notre Dame hasn't really been their year. They're going against Virginia Tech. This could very well be an upset, but I still have Notre Dame in this one, 30-26 over Virginia Tech. And then Michigan going against Nebraska. Nebraska has looked pretty good this year in some games. They haven't been too great, though. But I do have Michigan in that one, 31-24. And then Kentucky, who beat Florida last week, I think they will be able to beat LSU. So yeah, I think Kentucky will beat LSU 27-16. And then Alabama going against a Texas A&M team that has really struggled. I've got Alabama big in that one, 41-13, maybe even more. So yeah, those are my picks for week 6. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to subscribe. And this is the Sports Spiral. Bye.